Hey there, it's Chaya back with another episode of Naked, the Messy Middle Edition. Openly talking about the messy parts of our lives. Like today, for instance, I'm going to call this It's Okay Not to Be Okay Part 2 because you know what? I still feel not okay. Yesterday I shared how earlier this week I retrieved memories that I could not remember earlier on. And I'll dive a little deeper in that. You see, as a kid, I was sexually abused, and there's a very unreal part of me while I talk that there's a part of me that feels like this is just fake. Like, what is happening? Um, and I'm noticing that part, and I'm just mentioning it so that for any of those of you who think you've been sexually abused or who have, know that you're not alone. Like, there is a part in you that will always doubt it because there were doubters. And there are doubters out there. And because it's so crazy to you that someone can do something like that to a little kid or even an adult. So I had a long history of sexual abuse, and for a very long time I thought it was because I craved attention or grew up in a little bit of a messed up home, which I did. But every home's a little bit messed up and dysfunctional, right? So mine was probably a little more than a little, but we'll put that on pause right now because that's not what we're talking about. But I never really attributed it to something happening in the past. And I'll never forget there were these little clues throughout the years. Like, for example, I went to a therapist, I remember years ago, probably 8 years ago. And, well, time flies. She asked me, were you ever sexually abused? And molested as a kid, or abused as a kid. And I remember looking at her and saying, not that I remember. And I'll never forget that moment where our eyes met. It was the first time I heard myself saying, not that I remember. And she says, hi, I just want you to notice. You said, not that I remember. You didn't say no. And I remember sitting there for a moment, and there was this shudder that went down my spine. And I knew in that moment something bad had happened. But at the same time, then came the wall. The wall that I had created as it had happened. Back then when I was a little girl, that wall I created to protect me from what was really happening, that wall came up that at that moment as that shudder went down my spine as I sat in that therapist's office. And I said, yeah, but it probably means nothing. And thank God she knew better than to go there and realized I wasn't ready. But it always reverberated in my head after that. There was always that little voice. And there were always little signs. Even when I was a little kid, I remember laying in bed one day and saying, like, I wouldn't know if someone did anything to me while I was asleep because I would have been asleep. So I wouldn't know, right? And I remember also that shudder came down my spine, and then I said, yeah, but even if something did happen while I was asleep, who really cares because I was asleep, so it can't affect me. And I want to tell you something that's not true, first of all. I want to educate that little young part in me, and I want to educate you as well. It's not true. Even if you cannot remember something, it gets stored in your body. The beautiful body that carries you day to day to day to day. The only one you get to live in. The one that was created special for you. And anything, any sort of trauma that it happens to it, any sort of taking away the power of it, taking your power away from choosing what happens to it, it gets stored in your body, okay? And it never goes away. And why I'm not feeling okay right now is because now that I remember, I don't know how to process it. How do you process a little girl being touched by someone way older, someone trying to find meaning in life in a little girl? And I know that there are many sick people out there, and it just hurts to try to process this and find a way to find meaning. And I heard this amazing saying. Yesterday, so I started to research a little bit about people who have been through this and what they're saying, because I never classified myself as I was always a sexual trauma survivor. I was always a trauma survivor, but I never realized that it had happened when I was that young, and the pattern of it. And I was researching it, and this one beautiful woman came up. I forget her name right now, but and she said, "It takes a sick, twisted person to look for meaning between my legs, and it takes a wholesome, strong, beautiful one to try to find healing through it." And that's really it. I feel like I'm closing off. I'm not willing to really go there. Even though this is naked, the messy middle, I want to give myself safety as I uncover such deep, deep things. But it's really earth-shattering to me on some level. There's a lot of relief because for so long I had been sexually abused and I couldn't understand it. I thought there was something wrong with me. I was holding the shame of the guys, the bad guys out there who thought that they can just take what they want from me and blame it on the fact that, I don't know, you dressed pretty. Excuse me. So what? I need to wear a garbage bag? You control your fucking... Excuse me, sorry. You control yourself, dude. It's on you. Don't blame it on me. I said no. I communicated. And little did I know that I had been hurt so young that my communication skills in that area were not the best. And so there's some relief in knowing that it wasn't like I really had been hurt in that area so young that I really didn't have a shot when I came out to the real world, and the men, that like to take what they want. Do you know that every 98 seconds there's someone in the US that is getting raped or sexually harassed or abused of some sort? Every 98 seconds. Okay? So whether or not you know of someone, chances are you do know of someone. Whether or not you are that someone, chances are you definitely know of someone who's been hurt like that on some level. And I'm not here to just bring pain and sadness in with it, but I want to open up the process of it, because it's so difficult. And I feel like there's a few little factors that I wish I knew and I want to pass on to you. First of all, it's okay for us. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay for it to be really hard, for you to feel dysregulated and a mess. It's okay to be a mess. It really is okay to be a mess. And the other thing I wanted to say is, no matter what trauma you've been through, there are times where you will not fully remember. And when you don't remember, you can doubt yourself easily. But I want to tell you something. The body, it always remembers. So trust your body. Trust it. Because it has everything stored in it. And if you feel like your body is telling you that something happened to you, take all the time you need, but please recognize when the doubt shows up and see if you can sort of like, okay, you know what, maybe it's not true, maybe it is, but let's just put it on pause for now and let's just see what our body's saying. Because when it first showed up for me, I spent days and weeks just denying that anything could have ever happened to me. And now I get to fix that, mend that broken relationship between me and me. And it's really hard because right now, all I want is me. I want the comfort of being able to hold the little me that's crying so hard because of this scary story that's coming out now. And yet I feel cut off from her, because when she spoke last, when my body spoke last, when my little one spoke, my past spoke, I said, no, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true. And now she doesn't want to come out and be held by me, because soon I might say it's not true again. So I'm just here to tell you that if you feel like something happened of any sort, if your body feels it, if you have this inkling that there might have been some sort of abuse, I don't care what the whole world says. The only thing that matters is what you say to you. I'm going to end off with that. Remember, whatever you say to you, that's what sticks. That's your world. I just want to finish with a serenity prayer, because I don't know, it feels right about now. So, God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that one is me. All right, like and subscribe. I'll see you soon.